So I've been with Nuestar for about 2.5 years now. My role at Nuestar as a property strategist is to really work between Michael Wilkins and Nick Hagan, and also with our external partners to ensure that the property that we've selected is in line with the overall strategy that we've put together for the client. Yeah, so timing is very important in that execution phase. So one of the things that we're lucky enough to be able to negotiate at Nuestar, or Michael's lucky enough to be able to negotiate, is deposits. So just timing on and where to place those deposits and how much. So if a client might have put a 10% deposit down on a property in Brisbane that's settling in 2025, we'll always look for an opportunity to do a lower deposit so that they can place a further plant a further seed in the next year, but not have to outlay as much capital. So if there's an opportunity to do that, that's pretty critical in that strategy. Yeah, so one of the things I've probably noticed travelling around Australia and looking at those different property types and locations is you've got to pick a certain property type in a certain capital city at the right time. So for example, we'll often invest in house and land in Melbourne. We won't invest in house and land in New South Wales because your entry point is a lot higher and your returns aren't as high on that particular product. So you'll take quite a hit on your cash flow, and that can really affect your overall strategy. So you really got to pick the right property in the right market at the right time. And depending on each capital city will depend on which product type that is. So, for example, in Perth, we recently did a project which is an apartment project in a city, because one of the things we looked at was employment and what's driving that market and driving that population growth. And one of the things that we recognise is that we need to be close to employment, and the house and land just wasn't close enough for employment for us to be happy with that acquisition. So that's why we focused on an apartment project in Perth. But for example, in Melbourne, we focused on master planned estates where employment is actually coming into those estates as that estate gets developed. So those are little critical details that you do need to focus on in that acquisition phase. Yeah, so having a strategic partnership with the developer is definitely important in this business. And more importantly than that is often having a good relationship with that developer. So probably more importantly, if Michael in acquisitions can understand exactly what that developer requires to complete that project, that'll allow us to actually work with them, and more particularly on deposits. So try to find those solutions for our clients that might not necessarily have the capital at the moment to outlay a full 10% deposit, but working with the developer to actually see if that is required at that time. So if it's not required for a full 10% deposit, does a 5% deposit work? And that might be a solution for a client that doesn't necessarily have 10% at the time.